you can continue. That's where you should be right now. I was enjoying the video while you were getting all 5 of those things out.
I mean, you can't expect us to
Yes, I can. Can and will.
I mean, I'm ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Are you ready for the Krabby Patty formula? I'm ready. I'm ready. Here you go. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. And then the credits roll. It's a good episode. For me, it's up there with Beach Fight.
That was the best.
Prehistoric. That was a good one. Conch Shell. It's a good one. Okay. I'm going to begin, right? I hope you're where we are. But if you'll notice, this is the kind of the worksheet for your first paragraph. You have an 8-sentence first paragraph. If you did it correctly yesterday, you have an 8-sentence first paragraph. I want you to find sentence number 3. On your paper, find sentence number 3. That is the topic of your second paragraph. Of course you have 8 sentences. You did it correctly yesterday. You should have 8 sentences. Find sentence number 3. Sentence number 1 is the question. Sentence number 2 is introducing the fact that some people think the answer should be whatever for 2 reasons. And then sentence number 3 is the first reason for the side you disagree with. Look, am I right? It should be the first argument for the side you disagree with. That is the topic of paragraph number 2, which takes us to this worksheet right here. You don't have to create this worksheet. You simply just have to follow along as we go. We are writing the first argument for the side of the question that you are dealing with that you disagree. You do not agree with this argument. You've sided with the other side. But we still have to acknowledge this side of the argument and state that some people do have this opinion. So we are going to be paying attention to this column. Pay no attention to this column. It's this column. And the way we're going to write this is right over here. We're going to follow this format. As soon as you know what you're doing, fly! I am Mother Boyd. You are Baby Boyd. If you are ready to fly, peck my claws, peck them, and fly yourself. Fly! But until then, just stick your wings out and pretend you're flying. We both know I'm flying. You're along for the ride. But when you're ready, peck. I want you to write your topic sentence. If you know what you're doing, do it. Write your topic sentence. Write the first sentence of paragraph number 2, which should look a whole lot like paragraph 1, sentence 3. Say the same thing without saying the same thing. Okay? State it this way. The first reason some people claim is If you don't know what, look at your third sentence of your first paragraph. That's what you're arguing. If you haven't done your article summaries, you are going to struggle right now because you're not where you are supposed to be.
Wait, I have a question.
Okay, I'm ready.
So, that's yes, you agree with your subject. That's no, you don't agree.
It's not whether or not you agree with the subject. It's which side of the argument are you siding with? What's your question?
I don't know which one to do for my topic sentence.
What is your question?
Oh, like
Your overall question.
Is increasing the number of opportunities for legal migration the
What do you think so?
Yeah.
Yes, you do. Then this paragraph is about one of the arguments for no. You disagree with this argument. But so you're going to acknowledge it, but you're going to disprove it. You got to acknowledge it first. And then say what's wrong with the argument. Okay? That's why you're saying the first reason some people claim. Let's say I think the Vikings are the better team. This paragraph is going to say, well, the first reason some people claim the Packers are the better team is because the Packers actually win Super Bowls. Okay? And then I find a quote from some coach saying, yep, we've won 4 Super Bowls. I'll acknowledge that argument, but then somehow I'll say why that is an invalid argument. That's sort of a hard argument to invalidate. I'm not going to say, but they really didn't. Yes, they did. But what I would do is say, however, that's not a good measurement. Name another team in the NFL that's owned by the city. They've got the Packers. By the way, this is true. The Packers have inherent advantages over every other NFL team. They will never move unless Green Bay, Wisconsin decides to move. The Packers will. They're the only team that we can say that about. Every other team is owned by a person. And that person, because we live in a capitalist country, has the right to move the team, but not Green Bay. Green Bay is a publicly controlled entity. They used to be more than that, but they all closed. They kept one public entity, the Packers. Anyway, okay. Will you give me a thumbs up? You've done it. You've written the first sentence.
It doesn't make that much sense.
What's your topic?
It's just the wording of it. Right?
What's your topic?
Does the global community have responsibility in American genocide?
What do you think?
I'm saying
No, I want to know what you think about that question.
I do.
Okay, then this would be the first reason some people do not think so is
I have just the way that the reason.
we can revise it later.
Yeah.
Okay. What's necessary now is what's called context. This is just you thinking right now. Don't worry about hitting a home run. Please just spend a sentence or two explaining the reality of the situation right now that makes you addressing this question necessary. Like, again, let's think about the Packers-Vikings paper. I'm writing a really important paper on who's better between the Vikings and the Packers. And let's just say I'm a Vikings fan, and I want to argue the Vikings are the better team. I would say the first reason some people claim the Packers are the better team is that they win Super Bowls. This is an important thing to consider because the NFL is more popular now than ever. There. I've set the table for why this question matters. That's what context is. Why does your question matter? Answer that question in your context. And don't worry about hitting a home run. I don't need a perfect second sentence. Just give it a shot. You can fix it later. One of the challenges I see from people your age is it's not quite right, so you don't do it. Stop it. Stop being so hard on yourself. Just write a crappy sentence. You can fix it later. Start it this way. This is important because sandwich. That's what Jimmy John says. They deliver within 5 minutes because sandwich. Jason?
Can genocide be based on whatever someone's based on, or is it always just an ethnic group?
So that's a good question. So in this case, genocide is a defined term. And so what happened was that nations of the world signed this treaty and said it's a mass execution based on these criteria. So when the mass murderer comes to the school and kills all juniors, that's not genocide because it's not one of the criteria. It's terrible. It's a mass shooting, but it's not genocide.
I just have
or religion.
So it's usually based on like ethnic.
Look up the UN.
Otherwise, it's
definition of
just a
genocide.
mass killing, which is terrible.
They have 4 criteria. One of the. I can't remember.
I'm going
The
to
important part is
assume
its intent.
that you are where you should be. Why is he in here?
A national, ethical, racial, or religious.
You.
I want to learn.
We have class right now.
Yeah.
Tyler.
All right. You then need to go to your correct document, the one that's making this argument. So this is going to require you to do a little bit of research here. You got to find the correct article summary. Which article is making this argument? You got to find it. When you find it, I want the speaker's credibility, the actual quote you're using, every word, not the first and last word like you did in the previous paper. You got to type it out, every word, the actual quote, and the footnote. And for the footnote, all I need is the answer to question number 1, right on your article, little article summary thingy. Where is it? Over that little half sheet of paper.
Yeah.
Here it is. The footnote is just the answer to number 2 on your half sheet. Okay. Do you have this?
Well, I know what that is.
Okay. Number 2 asks, which article is this? That is all I need for your footnote. Just in parentheses. It's either a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or a 4. That's it.
All that, the evidence stuff you want to, except for the quote.
The speaker is the answer to number 4.
I don't even get it. It's my.
Basically, you're revealing to me the document evidence that proves that someone says this, right? What if I have a quote from some former Packer saying we won 4 Super Bowls? There. So I say, former quarterback Brett Favre. Favre is the speaker, credibility, former quarterback, said we've won 4 Super Bowls. There's his quote. And then in the footnote, let's just say that's the first article I read. So it'd be a 1. You do it. Name, comma, credibility, comma, said, comma, quote, comma, footnote, period. Are you confused? Are you really confused?
It's pretty, you copied it on paper.
Oh my god.
What?
So you need to do the. Okay.
Well, don't touch me.
Which article?
Jesus, dude, you're all up in my face. I think I'm sick.
Go to-
Seems like everyone has problems getting sick. If you ask me, it's a bunch of weak immune systems.
Something fishy's going on here, Sam.
Bleeding out the weak.
Are you sure?
I'm not sick.
Okay.
Just call me weak.
Who's the speaker?
Take it back.
You're sick. I'm
Copy
not
and
taking
paste
it
it.
back. Ow.
Was that weak?
Yes. Yes, no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Ow.
What?
Am I supporting or
Not.
I'm 179.
Yeah, now we're doing the red.
What?
Who is the
I don't
person
know.
that is making
No.
the argument that you
Stop.
described in your first sentence of this paragraph? Who made that argument? How do you know that's an argument?
She started beating them.
Where'd you get that argument? You must have got it from
Ow.
an article that you read.
Hey, ow. Wait, what are you drawing now?
Another one?
Yay.
Get it. Get it. Get it. Get
So
it.
the speaker
I
is.
don't know what that means. Get it. What's it a map of?
Where's the
Greece?
speaker?
Huh?
White House.
Greece? This is just Greece? Peloponnesian
So the White House press.
Oh,
You're a
The White
bad.
House press.
Soccer.
Your mom.
Actually, really soccer.
You know what? Fuck you.
Yeah, but
Okay, ow.
What was that?
Ow.
I like did that.
Everyone, when you find the correct article, author is number 4. Credibility of author is number 5. Quote is number 8. Footnote is number 2.
Potter, did you see my 4 article summaries things? I showed you? Okay, cool.
Yeah, Will, what's up? You seem down since AP Lit. You are not fine.
Oh, what's the matter?
You say you're fine. We're not really fine.
You gotta go.
Say you're fine, but you're not really fine. 'Cause you can't get into it because they would never understand.
You can't say that because they never get it. No, Will, what's up?
It's nothing personal. You're distracting him.
I know Will will get it to me.
Of course he gets it.
Jack, take your hat off. Thank you, Jack. Beautiful hair. Beautiful hair. I wish I could run my fingers through that.
Whoa.
It's lovely.
That's
another-
another.
Jack,
that's
you don't have to rub it
another
in that I'm
video
almost
we
bald.
can't use.
Yeah, another ruined video. Dang it.
How are we gonna watch these lectures?
Wait, are you talking about that,
Does
Jack?
anyone ever actually watch?
He's a minor.
Yeah. Yeah, I see the number of hits. After what? What? Well, under the word speaker is the word credibility. And then there's this word called quote. And then there's this thing called footnote. Stop at the top and, work your way down.
I didn't see that.
All right.
Do we italicize article titles? Or are they?
You're putting the article title for what reason?
Can be said to put it? I did not. No, I said I put it. I did not.
Why would you need the article title?
I don't know. I don't know.
It doesn't say article title. It says the speaker
I know. I
and
just
then the credibility.
You
Just
can
say-
use it. There's nothing stopping you.
I mean, you could,
Just say,
but
I just put
I
it
mean,
in-
what's the source of your article? There, the writer is a writer for the Orlando Sentinel.
I just put
blah blah
in the
blah
source
remarks
of
that blah blah blah.
Okay, but I still don't know what the credibility of that person is, though.
Oh, no, I put it in here. He's a senior fellow of global governance.
Okay, that's good.
in the National Institute of Global
That's
Governance Program of the Council.
And then, so okay, then you could italicize the title of the article, or underline it. No, you can't underline. You put it in quotes or you italicize it. The next step, I realize that some of you are still going here, but allow me to just say the next step and then off you go. The next step is you have to tell me what you think the quote means. This means that. What Favre means is, and I don't care if you think it's painfully obvious what it means. So what? You got to make it so I know you know what it means. And you then know that I know that you know what it means. And I know that you know that I know that you know what it means. And think about this. You will then know that I know that you know that I know that you know what it means. And how about this? I will know that you know that I know that you know that I know that you know what it means. And then, think about this. You will know that I know that you 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 know what it means. The end. Put it in your own words. Put the quote in your own words. What he means is, what he's trying to say is, clearly he believes that. You don't have to agree with it. You just have to explain it.
I told you what I was going to do with my paper. You're probably going to get to the end of May. Is that okay?
The explanation of quote might take you more than one sentence. That is all right. Might take you 2, 3, 4. It's fine. However many sentences it takes. Don't do this though. Don't have the ending, non-ending sentence. The sentence that won't end. And, comma, but, and, good God, end already. Have a series of short sentences. Nothing wrong with a nice short sentence. Awesome. Just get brother.
So this one article kind of makes quotes, I think, so important. So it's, and there's quote kind of within the quote. So is it okay if I'm using 2 points in this first paragraph?
Okay, actually, like,
It's not 2 separate arguments, but this guy is arguing against the thing with sort of 2
even if you
points.
have a back
But not exactly. This article though, because most people just say that like this article arguing that they use it and say that they don't, but he's
The next part is sort of the most complex, so I got to make sure that we're all listening to me. So I'll tell you what, I'll give you another 2 minutes here, and then we will attack the next step. So make sure that you've explained the quote in your own words. You got 2 minutes. You are logged into there.
What?
You're there.
So we just asked what you like.
You're where you need to be.
What?
What trap? Your trap. He actually said it's.
Are you his friend? Be his friend. Be a real friend. You're not even done with that paragraph. I know that. We wrote more than 4 sentences.
Sorry for the interruption. Attention golf members, there is no practice tonight. Also,
That's good.
attention
You were
baseball
clear,
players.
and that's what you weren't doing. That's what you were doing.
Games for varsity and JV have been canceled for tonight.
Why?
Varsity will practice at the middle school
Why
gym
weren't you
at
following us since we were
3:45,
working yesterday?
and JV practice is
Yes, I know,
canceled.
but where you were doing it piece by
JV
piece.
practice is canceled.
Otter.
I'm just,
10 seconds.
you and I.
5,
Which we
4,
shouldn't do.
3,
Okay.
2, 1. Time's up.
Now what you need to do, because you disagree with this argument, you have to refute it. You have to point out why it's wrong. So again, imagine I'm writing a paper on who's better between the Vikings and Packers, and I'm pointing out that some people believe the Packers are the better team because they win Super Bowls. And then I have a quote from Brett Favre. He's a former quarterback, and he says, we won four Super Bowls. And then I've explained that it appears that what Favre is saying is that winning dictates whether or not a franchise is successful. Okay? So I've quoted him, I've explained what he means, and now I add the magical words, which you now need to add as well in its own sentence, and it goes something like this. It's 3 words. Do you know? Those aren't the 3 words. Do you know what the words are? But he's wrong. But he's wrong. You've explained what he's saying, and then you add the 3 magical words, but he's wrong.
Sounds like barbaric.
Or this argument is wrong. And now we have to prove it's wrong.
However, the argument presented is false.
Is false. Fine. Okay,
I say wrong.
write that quick little sentence. This is wrong. Or this argument is not
I feel
valid.
like a barbarian when I say that.
Yeah.
Now, the way you're going to prove it's wrong is with a piece of historical evidence. In your article summary, you'll notice that number 10 says specific example. And then number 11 says second specific example. Each article summary you provided 2 examples if you did it right. Now here's the problem. These two examples that are on this article would prove that it's right. You have to go to another article from the other side of the argument and retrieve one of the 2 examples. I don't care which one you use. So again, will you just think about my paper? I'm writing on the superiority of the Vikings or Packers. And I've spent this much of this paragraph arguing that some people believe the Packers are the better team. And I've explained that to Favre, success in Super Bowls dictates the better team. And then I've added those magical words, but he's wrong. Now what do I need to do? I need to prove he's wrong. And I go to another article which points out that the Vikings have superior facilities. And I use example number 2, practice facilities. Have any of you been by the new Vikings practice facility? It's called the best in the NFL, right? And I will say this. This is wrong. Success in Super Bowls is not a valid argument for who is the better team. A better measurement would be practice facilities. The Vikings have the best practice facilities in the NFL. Brand new, and they've got 4 fields, and they've got state-of-the-art this, and they've got its own satellite, and I go on and on. From the second example, from an article summary I did for the side I agree with. So you got to find that. You have to find it. It's in your article summary, a different one. And then explain how that example proves that this argument is not valid. There's a lot going on in your head right now. I will happily go table to table and sort of help you along. Okay? Your goal is to write everything until the last sentence, which is called transition. Okay? I'll start there. Keep your hand up, Nelson. I will be there when I get back. Doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. Either do I.
Go on. Will. Go on.
I mean, this one, I guess,
You don't have to explain it a great deal. Just point out the fact that this is wrong. This attempt has been done in other countries, like in India, where it's worked just fine. And then later on, you'll be clarifying what the argument is. But for right now, you're just using it as an example. See, it works here.
What?
Yeah, we already got like that too. Oh. Yeah, the article.
Right. So you're saying this is wrong. One example of a genocide that we never intervened in, but should have, was Rwanda, where this many people died. And you get into detail. You'll clarify the argument later. Hi. No.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
So basically, so the first two checklists,
Oh, so you were writing 4 paragraph?
yeah, mine's pretty short.
Like one.
He's wrong. It does barbaric to say that.
So.
No, I feel like a Mongol. But he wrong. Like,
It's nasty.
you have to say, however, the argument presented by blah 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 is false.
Take it and use
Or something like that.
to say this argument is valid.
However,
because
one must
look at this
consider
situation.
that this argument is wrong because
Just describe the.
this argument is incorrect.
If you're just showing up because of a conflict, your job is to watch the video. Your job is not to call me over and have me sit down with you and explain.
Hold your hand.
You made this conflict. It's not my job to reteach you in class. Sorry. Of course there's a video. And I didn't even swear that off.
Oh, you don't swear.
Jeff, did you do the article? All 4? So you
Do not touch me. You're like plague infected or something.
Oh,
I don't need this from you.
there's one right there. Where the
No, you don't look bad at all. You don't sound bad either. But you think you're sick, and if you think you're sick, I don't want anything to do with it.
You need that so that
Prevent
It's just a mind game. to mess with
prevent
you.
anything that could happen at all costs. Well, then you're doing a good job.
So, like, have on this
Wait.
hat.
I don't like you.
Is that? You love me, right? Look at me. You love me, right?
I do.
Say it again. Is it?
I love you.
Every day. Give me a good day.
It's over there on the Oh, there might have been. I mean, there are some specific examples that are pertinent to this actual paper.
Mm-hmm.
So up here, here's my part where I'm explaining what he meant. Then I've said, but this is wrong. And then I have an example, a piece of evidence that shows it's wrong. That's what you're doing. Explain what is being argued in the quote, but then go to a piece of historical evidence that proves it's not right. That's your evidence for this one. Piece of evidence that refutes it. Okay. Okay, so we need to go to your first, right? Our targeted restricted This is how I wanted you to write. That's why I had this slide up here. Right? Here's your first sentence. Your second sentence is, some people think so for 2 reasons, period. First of all, second of all. Everyone, I didn't make this slide because I was bored one day. This is how I want you to write it. I want you to write it like this. Very funny, Greener. So, should targeted airstrikes be used? Some people, Jack, sorry, what do you think? Yes? Targeted airstrike? No? Okay. What's your opinion? Yes. Some people think that they should not be used for 2 reasons, period. First of all, blah, 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 period. Second of all, blah, 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 period. Others think they should be used for 2 reasons, period. First of all, blah, 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 period. Second of all, blah, 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 period. I think they should be used because blah, blah, blah. End of paragraph. I'm going to give you 2 more minutes to finish up, and then I actually have some stuff I want to cover, and then we'll call it a day. Oh, yeah, right.
Put the bottom one up there again.
I just did the last part.
If you do need more help, I'm glad to help you. I really am. You just need to find me during flex time. During your flex time, my flex time. Great, I'll help you.
What's the transition?
Because A is true, B is true, right? For me, I'm writing the Packer Viking thing. Because some people mistakenly believe the Packers are a better team because of their Super Bowl victories, comma, they believe the Packers are superior to the Vikings. That's what you're doing. Because what you're trying to argue appears to be true in the paragraph, comma, this is why some people believe whatever is being argued in the paper. Here. What's your topic? What about
Should it?
it? Okay. And what's your opinion?
I think it shouldn't be.
Should not be closed. The people that think it should be, what is the argument that they make?
It's dangerous.
Okay. Because some people mistakenly believe that open borders is dangerous, comma, those people argue that we need to close the border completely, period. There's what's true in the paragraph leads to what they conclude is true in the paper, period. Think of this as because some people mistakenly believe the argument in this paragraph, comma, they mistakenly believe what's true in this paper, period. I have a quick little 3-slide presentation that was written by a guy by the name of Thomas Friedman. He writes for the New York Times. He's actually from Minneapolis. He actually was in town today giving a speech. This guy is a brainiac. He is a giant in the intellectual world.
Who was in Somerset?
Minneapolis. He was at McAllister College. And he wrote an article, and the title of the article is, Why Do They Hate Us? Why do they hate us? And the they is radical, fundamentalist, nation rejecting, ISIS supporting, Al Qaeda supporting, nutcase religious fanatics. The us is American culture. Why do they hate us? And so he lists part of the argument. None of this should be shocking to you, but here we go. One of the reasons is because what we American culture define as freedom, they define as immoral. So we believe that you have the right to smoke, the right to eat a Big Mac every day, the right to drink alcohol once you're old enough, the right to gamble, the right to watch R-rated movies. That's freedom. The government should not have a right to dictate what you do or do not put in your body, what you do or do not do in your free time. We consider that freedom, but they consider that immoral behavior. No, the government should be able to tell you what you can or can't smoke, what you can or can't drink, what you can or can't watch, what you can or can't eat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So our definition is freedom. To they, it is immoral behavior. An example, I've got alcohol, right? We are the world's leading producer and consumer of alcohol if you exclude vodka. Russia's got us if you include vodka. Okay? The second argument about why they hate us has to do with wealth. This is an interesting map that shows global wealth. The fatter you are, the wealthier you are. And you'll notice that the fattest nation on earth is the United States. We are the wealthiest nation on earth. Japan is a giant. China's a giant. Can you even see parts of Africa? It's right here, right? Incredible poverty. Look at the Middle East. Incredible poverty. Why do they hate us? The same reason you're jealous that your neighbor's got that boat and you have a little dinghy. Jealousy. What this is jealousy. We are wealthy, they are poor. Now, the they in this argument also make an argument that we are also shallow, that we define ourselves as successful because of our wealth. It's the same thing. You know your neighbor's an idiot, but he's got that boat. But he's an idiot, right? And you sit there like, why does he have a boat? He's a moron, right? Same thing. To these people, we are the morons. But we happen to value shallow things. So we've got the big glittery toys, and they have poverty, but we're shallow, and that makes us morons in their views. Okay. And our last slide has to do with destiny, right? Think about your own future. Will you just try this little exercise, and let's just see. Picture yourself 10 years from now. 10 years from now. So you're 27, 28 years old. Those of you who've gone to college, I hope you're done, right? Maybe you're in med school, maybe you're in law school, maybe you're in the military. And allow me to ask this question. Who decided your fate? And hopefully you understand that wherever you are in 10 years, the main person that dictates that is you. You are in control of your own fate. And that idea is a very American idea, that you are in control of your own fate. If you're successful, it's because you worked hard. If you are not successful, because you're lazy, or something like that. Now you might argue, well, but that's not fair because I got cancer or something. Okay, I'm not talking about those extremely rare situations where fate was taken away from you. Generally speaking, we Americans believe in our own fate. We dictate our lives. We are free. These people, these radicals, live in countries where the government is extremely oppressive. Saudi Arabia is one of the least free countries on earth. Remember I showed you the top 10 chart? Other parts of the Middle East are dictatorships. They are not free. They are under the thumb of their oppressive governments, and that makes those people angry. They're angry because they're not free. This chart, by the way, shows, it's called the freedom chart. Green countries are free. Hooray. Blue countries are somewhat free. Yellowish countries are not free because crime is extremely high or an oppressive government. So, like, for example, Mexico. What makes these countries, Mexico, not free is the cartels that make life extremely dangerous in Mexico. What makes life not free in the Middle East is their oppressive governments.
The blue is what? Dictatorship?
Sort of free.
What do you mean sort of free?
Not quite as free, but not quite as oppressive.
So communist China is free.
Economically free.
No.
Yeah, they
You can't say what you want.
Politically, they're not free, but economically, they are. You can't say what you want, but you can buy Kentucky Fried Chicken if you want. They're economically free. They can make economic choices. They can't
What
make
the yellow
political choices.
means.
Not really,
So Sudan is more free than Egypt.
I guess.
Madagascar.
Okay,
I believe that.
so again, to summarize, they're not free, they're poor, and they believe that we are immoral. There, I'm done. Okay. Make sure. Are you applauding because I'm done, or that you?
No comment.
I'm gonna.
Whatever you believe is your daughter.
Okay. You're welcome. Another brilliant presentation.